It's insane.
What's up, guys? Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Occupy Fantasy NBA Strategy Show with Chuck and Jayhawk. We're going to be going over some DraftKings and FanDuel today. We have a nice little four-gamer. I don't know. We have a four-gamer. I don't know if it's nice. We have a lot of Sacramento Kings to talk about. The model's sorted by value right now. As you can see, Alex Len kind of broke everything with an 8.2 OF index at the flat min. It's kind of insane. Then 27 DK value. I actually don't know if I've ever seen a higher DK value. We haven't projected for 25 minutes. I don't know. We'll get into it in a little bit more. Jayhawk, how we doing today?
Yeah, man. Definitely a fun slate here. You mentioned it. It's going to be Kings oriented here. I'm excited to discuss how many Kings we're playing tonight.
Yeah, man. It's going to be a interesting one. Let's see. Landon, you were first. Nice. Goodwin, definitely not last. Heath, good to see you. Courtney, happy Saturday, man. Hopefully, we already got some trickery in the MMA stuff with fighters getting ruled out right after lock. Hopefully, didn't kill you guys. And Douche, so I want to start with this. Douche was giving some pretty good advice in the Discord. I made a mistake on the stream yesterday. I was talking about it doesn't really matter what combination of nuggets that you play in a lineup, but it kind of did. I guess I wasn't really thinking people would play like Russell Westbrook, Jamal, and Julian Strother together. But even beyond that, we probably want to be careful about like which positions, and this applies to the Kings tonight. So, last night we probably didn't want Russ and Jamal in the lineup, for example. MPJ was fine, and then the other guys, just be a little bit more careful about it. So let's start with the Kings because this is the most important part of the slate. I mean, you already alluded to we're going to have a bunch of Kings in our lineups. Well, let's just start. Like, what are we doing with the Kings?
Yeah, so obviously Sabonis is out, DeRozan's out, and we have a ton of value here. So we already mentioned that Alex Len, probably the clear-cut value play here. And then Trey Lyles, I think, is also, whether he starts or he doesn't start, should be a guy I'm going to have a ton of. And then we can't forget about Fox, man. I'm going to have a very difficult time not playing a lineup without him. But, yeah, let's talk about Fox. What are we thinking with here?
I just hit build right before the stream started, and I currently have, no surprise here, 100% exposure to Fox. Should have showed this. So I don't know how often we have a guy priced this far below Luka, higher than Luka in OF index, and it's like, it's unfortunate this happened the night after De'Aaron Fox dropped 60 real-life points because he was already on everyone's mind at this weird price without DeMar, and now Sabonis is out. And I don't know. Someone said, do we lock or fade Fox in the Discord earlier? And I mean, I'm blocking him. I didn't click the lock button, but I probably just get 100% because his projection is super insane today. So, I mean, are you considering not playing 100% Fox?
I don't think so, man. It's so difficult with all these guys out in this matchup for me to see him not getting there. I think you can be underweight, but I'm probably gonna have a ton. Definitely not fading it.
Yeah, I don't think you ever want to play 0% Fox tonight, but there is an argument for the leverage that you get if Fox does not do it against Utah somehow. You're only going to be competing with like 30% of the field if Fox is not in the winner, but it's just he rates out as the best play of all time at his price today. So I like a lot of Fox. I might cap it. Maybe I'll get like 90% by the time the slate starts, just have a few lineups without him. But I think we really want to be heavy on Fox, and then it's just kind of figuring out the players around him. So back to that combinations thing, like, I don't know, De'Aaron Fox, Keon Ellis, Kevin Werder. Maybe that's an uncomfortable pair of three, but like De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray, Alex Len, and then one of Werder or Ellis seems pretty fine. Are you okay with stuff like that?
Yeah, I think that's solid. I think we both mentioned we'll get to Keon, but I think we're kind of lower on him as a whole. We'll get there, but yeah, definitely not as high in Keon as people on FanDuel are, at least.
Yeah, I mean, well, on FanDuel, I think Keon is a little more necessary than he is on DraftKings, but we only have him projected for 29 minutes, and that is a lot of minutes, but he has not been performing. This 22% on DraftKings is actually kind of appealing. I didn't realize he was that low owned. I expect him to come in a little bit higher, but he is the guy I'm least interested in. I want to say it's something like De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray. I think we just have to think that Alex Len plays more minutes tonight, and then Trey Lyles. But the thing with Alex Len is his minutes aren't secure. He played 8 minutes last night after starting. I played a bunch of him. It didn't work out at all. So how comfortable are you playing a lot of Alex Len? Are you with me?
Sorry, you cut out for a second. Yeah, sorry. Let me just reconnect this. Yeah, so Alex Len, I'm going to play a ton of here. 3K. He should pick up the start. So I think he's solid, but yeah, I think he's just so cheap. Even if he plays, has an average performance, he's just so cheap. I'm just going to get there.
And this is only with 25 minutes production. Now, maybe even in this situation, he can't play more than 25 minutes, but I think he has to play more than the 8 he played last night. I mean, Sabonis is leaving 40 minutes behind, and that's including the overtime, so we'll call it 35 in regulation. There's just not a lot of guys on this team that can really pick up those minutes other than Trey Lyles. I mean, I think one of them has to be in at center most of the time. I mean, maybe Utah will run John Collins, but I don't know they'll be comfortable with like Doug McDermott as their big man, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And then Jordan McLaughlin got pretty good minutes last night. Let me pull up the log here. Played 17 minutes, got a good stretch in the fourth quarter where he was effective. He's pulling a little bit of ownership, and I got to see how necessary the value is when I rebuild again. But I feel like just looking at it, I'm more interested in McLaughlin than I am in Keon Ellis.
Yeah, I'm definitely more interested in McLaughlin. I just think at their prices, I think McLaughlin probably gets there more. There's nothing wrong with Ellis. I just do prefer the savings with McLaughlin, if I can pronounce that right.
And then just sorting through my lineups. I mean, my top lineup right now, I'll just tell you, has Werder, Trey Lyles, Keegan Murray, and De'Aaron Fox. And I see Power mentioning Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard's in there as well, so probably not hard to guess the rest of the lineup. But every lineup has at least 3 Kings, and it looks like mostly 3 Kings with some 4 Kings mixed in over on DraftKings. It's such a good fantasy environment against Utah too. So yeah, Pritchard, that's a good shout. Pritchard is projected for 32 minutes across the industry today, which is kind of insane. We finally have, I thought this was 18 points. It's showing 16 and a half, and it looks like we lost Jayhawk for a moment. We'll get him back. But this is blowout territory. Toronto's bad. We saw the Hawks upset Boston in the same situation last week. I don't play this as if Toronto's going to do it, but it is leverage if you set it up that way. And the way we do that is basically just playing less Peyton Pritchard and playing more of like RJ Barrett, maybe Jakob Poeltl, Davion Mitchell. For the other Boston guys, I mean, Peyton Pritchard, the whole thesis on this play today, him being projected for 32 minutes, is that Boston blows out Toronto and he gets the whole fourth quarter to himself. Now, Peyton's a guy that can get there in regular time too. He doesn't need blowout run, but I think this is wrong. This is other sites have him projected for much higher ownership, and with as good of a projection as he has today, I'll be shocked if he comes in under 20% on either site. So, Jayhawk, we good?
Yeah, sorry, I had a little minor connection issue. I think we're back now. Sorry about that.
Okay, nice. Yeah, Peyton Pritchard, what do you think?
Yeah, we were kind of talking pre-stream. I think I love Peyton Pritchard here. It's an 18 point spread here. So typically I lean blowouts with that 16 to 18 point spread. And I think Pritchard's coming in 200 owned. I mentioned this in Discord a lot. He's a guy I want to get to. I'm not getting to as much of Boston. I think he probably gets the extra run here in blowout. So I love Pritchard. I think that's a fantastic call.
Now, I will say in large field tournaments, if your lineups look like that one I mentioned does with those 4, like the 4 obvious Kings players and Peyton Pritchard, it's going to be very chalky. So you probably have to be a little creative with the last few spots. But if you're playing small field or low risk stuff, I think that's a really good core to start with. I will also say the model. So we have 32 minutes for Pritchard, and the model isn't picking him up as one of the top values. Like, it thinks Derek White is still a better points per dollar play than Peyton Pritchard. Stephon Castle with the same value rating, and he's probably, I mean, he's going to pull ownership too, but I would expect him to come in less than Pritchard. And so, I don't know, just spots like this, I'm not jamming Pritchard. I like him a lot, but the model is telling us we can kind of get away from him a little bit. And I know he's only projected for 13, but I think this is a lie.
Yeah, no, I agree. He should definitely be more on in that 13%.
And another thing just to keep in mind, like De'Aaron Fox is going to occupy 70% of point guard spots on both sides. So every other point guard's kind of going to be pushed down a little bit because of that.
Yeah.
Ander screwed you. Yeah, it's MMA, man.
Classic.
We saw Chris. Fox is a priority. Yeah, I mean, let me see if Yeah, I'm just gonna have 100% tonight. I mean, like I said, maybe I end up with like around 90, but I think the point is you want to play Fox. I don't really see a good argument for not playing him. Like, yeah, you could say the leverage is insane, but I mean, he should be 10K tonight.
Oh, easily. I think he's way too cheap.
All right, so we got some news for the Mavs. Let me just pull up Underdog NBA's Twitter. AD is in, Cam Reddish is out, Rui is out. And then for the Mavericks, Luka's still a game time decision. PJ Washington is in, so that's good. And then Najee Marshall's a game time decision. He has an illness, so I usually lean these guys are out when they're sick. And so let's take a look at the model in a few minutes and see if something updated for PJ, I guess.
Yeah. We'll get to Luka, but he's definitely an interesting talking point in the Dallas game.
What are we doing with Trey Lyles? And here, this is the question. Len and Lyles together is safe. So the thing is, they're both so cheap. Let me just see how many minutes they played along. They played 0 minutes alongside of each other last night. Basically, Trey Lyles was on the court every minute that Alex Len wasn't. He played 41 minutes in the overtime. Without overtime, that'd be 36. So it's okay to play them together. And I'm wondering if Trey Lyles is just a better play, safer minutes anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting talking point. I don't know. I think Lyles is definitely safer. I think you can play them both together. I know they obviously didn't correlate last night, but obviously Sabonis was in last night. He's out tonight. So I think it should change a little bit with him out. But yeah.
Let me see how much I got of both of these guys. So I do have more Trey Lyles in my exposures than Alex Len right now. But actually have quite a bit more Trey Lyles. Looking at the model, though, it's so weird because Alex Len 24 minutes, Trey Lyles projected for 28. I think he could see more with Sabonis out, so I'd like to project him maybe like 31. But even then, if we give him that 10% boost, his OF index is half of Len's. His DK value is less than half. His price isn't that much more. So the model's telling us Len is the play, but that's based on him getting the 25 minutes. I don't think the 25 minutes are as secure as Trey Lyles 28.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely think the minutes are less secure there with Lynn.
But to answer the question, I think it's okay to play them together because even if they split minutes, like maybe Trey Lyles gets 28, Alex Len gets 20, that's still a 3K guy within 20 minutes, and he has the potential to play more. So I'm not setting any kind of rules to keep them apart. And Trey Lyles has a power forward eligibility, which is huge.
Yeah.
PJ on a minutes limit per coach kid. Okay. Yeah, we'll take a look at Mavs in a few minutes. Maybe that'll update. Is Pirtle safe? I mean, they're going against Boston with a 17, 18-point spread. He's not safe. He's the other guy that had the 60 burger yesterday, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, 7,600, 7,300 at sub 10% ownership against Boston. Yeah, Pirtle. Model thinks he's good. What do you think?
Definitely tougher to get to for sure, but obviously no quickly once again. I think it's a tough matchup, but I don't hate taking stabs, I guess, in tournaments.
Yeah, and this is another one. What do we mean by safe? So I hate the word safe because no one's safe in DFS, and who cares about safe? We're trying to take down first place and 100,000 entrant GPPs, 10,000 entrant GPPs. Like, we don't want safe. When I say safe, I'm usually talking about minutes, and it's like they could just have a bad game, but the point is they're on the court, and that's really the thing I care about the most.
Yeah.
And so are Pirtle's minutes safe? No, it's a 17-point spread, and I mean, he might just not play the fourth quarter if it's a big game. But if you think the game's closer, then Pirtle is an absolute. Like, if this was a 4-point spread, I'd be very interested in Pirtle at these prices and this ownership. But I mean, his ownership would also be higher if it was a closer game.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of similar to the Atlanta Boston game. Everyone was kind of building, assuming Boston would blow out. I think Toronto could be a similar route here with a big spread.
Yeah, and I definitely want to get, I mean, I want to be over the field on RJ Barrett. Pretty sure I'll be over that 20% on FanDuel too. It just, I mean, we saw those blow up games with Quickly, and if they do stay in this game, RJ Barrett's going to have to play well. Yeah. Other players on Toronto. So I mentioned on stream yesterday, Davion Mitchell was my highest exposed player going into lock. That changed, obviously, by the time lock happened, but I was still well over the field on him. Coming in at 4,600, he didn't have a bad game. And I mean, again, it's a tough matchup, but if he actually plays 32 minutes, he's going to be a very, very strong play on FanDuel at 4,600.
Yeah, completely agreed. And, as long as Quickly remains out, I'll be totally fine with Davion, especially on FanDuel.
And just to show some love to the other guys, I mean, Agbaji, I don't see him as a good play at 5,800 at all. At 4,900, he's probably worth some shots, sub 10%. And then Grady Dick has been, dude, this guy is so much better than I thought he was going to be. So around 6,500, I'm actually okay taking shots if you're playing with that narrative that Boston kind of keeps, or that Toronto kind of stays in the game.
Yeah, and you mentioned that it's going to be Barrett, it's going to be Grady who's doing the scoring primarily for them. So yeah, if you play this game being close, I think you got to have interest in Grady Dick here.
And like, yeah, his usage like plummeted in these games with Quickly back, but Quickly's out again tonight. He's still going to see this 34 plus minutes, and these games without Quickly, he was pretty good. So that's a narrative I don't mind that getting playing a little bit more Toronto players because they're all super low owned anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
And then let's talk about the rest of Boston. We already hyped up Peyton Pritchard enough. Again, we haven't predicted for 32. The whole thesis there is that he gets the whole fourth quarter. What else are we doing with the rest of Boston though?
Yeah, so we talked about Pritchard. I think all these guys are fine. I was primarily looking to White and Tatum if I was getting to anyone here. I was kind of leaning getting to White just because shooting guard isn't a position I love tonight. So if it's not Pritchard, I do like White. And then I think Tatum's fine he's in a really good spot. So if you think this game stays close for, a decent margin, I think Tatum should have a good game. But that's the issue, staying close. So.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason why all their ownerships are suppressed on a 4-game slate. I mean, Tatum at 10K, I'm on a 4-gamer. I know we have Luka and Wemby, but we have enough value that this would normally be a little bit higher, kind of the same with Jaylen Brown and Derek White. So I don't mind getting to these guys. I am getting more Jaylen Brown than Jason Tatum. Let me see who else I'm paying up for. I'm getting a fair amount of Luka, so that's probably why I'm not getting as much Jason Tatum. But if you're not getting as much Luka, maybe you get more Tatum in your exposures. And then a couple bench guys I want to ask you about: Sam Hauser and Neemias Queta. I mean, I think they're pretty good GPP plays, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's a big bump to Hauser too if we're playing that blowout narrative. He should get a bump here along with Pritchard. So I think I prefer Hauser between him and Queta, but I wouldn't hate getting to some Queta. So
yeah, I think just getting a few percent of these guys is fine. And Sam Hauser 3,600 at sub 10%. I mean, if he has a big game and we have a similar situation next time, he's going to be much higher than 9% owned.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Thoughts on Laurie, dude? This guy is not my friend right now. Laurie Markkinen. He's been so bad. John Collins has emerged as the best player on this team, apparently. Never expected that to happen.
Yeah, dude, he took I think it was under 10 shots last game against Dallas. He didn't look like the same Laurie that I know.
Got hurt, left early, left me five points out of first place. Just painful things all around. But with that said, he's sub 10% owned. His price is very good. We know he is the best player on this team. I know I just joked that John Collins is, but I think he's a good GPP play. These are the guys I want to target when they're in slumps. Now, it's more than just playing bad. It's like, this is something different. I'm not sure what this is, but either way, they're playing Sacramento. I think he's going to get full run. I mean, he hurt his nose, so it shouldn't affect his minutes tonight. Laurie Markkinen, another pretty good GPP play at low ownership.
Yeah, totally fine going back. I mean, he's got to have a better game than last game, right, dude? I mean, didn't play that well. I think bounce back game could be in the cards.
I've said that like 6 games in a row with this guy, man.
Yeah.
No way. And it's like I'm betting his under rebounds every day, and that's mostly hitting. But, dude, what do we do with this? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I want more than the 9% that he's projected for. Now, we're going to have a lot of Sacramento players. Who else from Utah are you interested in running it back with?
I was looking the most, and I haven't been on this guy, but Kyle Filipowski's, did I pronounce that right? I think he's probably my favorite guy to look to among the rest there. Gets the forward eligibility, nice run back. So I think I like him the most. But what were you feeling with the rest of these guys?
John Collins is my highest exposed player from Utah, but he's actually not that far ahead of Filipowski on DraftKings. So I'm getting to Filipowski too. I'll have to see how that ends up once I fully adjust Sacramento guys. But I mean, he's a pretty decent pivot off of any Sacramento big because he's going to be much less owned. I know his price is a little bit higher, but that's a pretty good shout. And the model is identifying him as value. Sexton is actually the best play from Utah, according to the model, top of DK value. Second highest OF index after John Collins. So he's coming in pretty low ownership as well. That's another decent pivot. Again, his ownership is depressed because Fox takes up point guard spots, but he does have shooting guard eligibility on both sites.
Yeah. The one thing I always mention this is just the minutes with him are just so volatile. game after game. But yeah, I agree. I think it's a fine matchup here for Colin.
And then like Keontae George and Clarkson, like 5,100 for Clarkson is just incorrect for the ceiling that he has. And if he's actually going to come in under 20% when the whole field is stacking Sacramento in their lineups, I mean, why wouldn't we run it back with Clarkson or like Clarkson and Collins even? Like, yeah, that takes up 6 spots in your lineups if you're doing that, but it doesn't mean it's incorrect. So Clarkson, Keontae, I mean, I'm basically just going to be over the field on all of these guys since we're going so heavy on Sacramento anyway. And this is the game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's such a good game environment and high total. Fantastic spot for both teams.
And then back to the combinations thing. Like, we're not playing Clarkson, Keontae, and Colin Sexton all three in the same lineup, but I don't think I would even set a rule to have like just one. I think I'd be okay with getting 2. I probably won't get that many lineups with that anyway, just because of all the Sacramento exposure, but just something to think about.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And then no problem playing Collins and Markkanen together. Probably wouldn't play Markkanen, Collins, and Filipowski together, though.
Speaking of Collins, Wemby is out. I know we talked about this. It is Zach Collins time.
All right. Man, more. Well, at least it's like we don't have to make a decision on Wemby anymore, but we have to make a decision on this value because I'm wondering how much of that Kings big man ownership is going to go over to Zach Collins. I want to wait for the model to update before we really dive into it, but Zach Collins, 4,900, 4,100 on FanDuel with power forward eligibility.
Damn.
This is one of the top plays on FanDuel today for sure. We'll see what the model thinks about DraftKings in a few minutes. Hauser, sneaky. Yep, we agree. Rui Reddish out. Yes. Is Barrett a must play in high risk? No, not a must play, but I mean, if you're building like 20 or 150 lineups, I think you should have exposure to them. But if you're making a few lineups, I don't think you have to have one share of RJ Barrett. I'm just saying, I think getting over these ownerships, and on FanDuel, you can play like 30%. You're over the field at 7,500. Seems pretty great.
Yeah.
So who's going to be highly owned? Let's take a closer look at the Lakers. Minutes yesterday were kind of weird. Let me refresh the model. Max Christie played 30 minutes off the bench, scored 11 points, things you love to see. Dalton Connect, we're going to expect to get the start again. We already have Cam Reddish ruled out. Let me pull up the Lakers. So who starts for Cam Reddish? Max Christie? I don't think JJ Redick's going to go back to D'Angelo Russell because that guy still doesn't get it. So
yeah, I think it should be Christie, man. I'm also on the team. I'm not a huge Russell fan, so I'm right there with Redick.
So Max Christie, I'm going to assume only projected for 20 minutes. The model thinks Max Christie is coming off the bench. 3,100, but he's already identifying as a top DK value. He played 30 yesterday. If he starts and he's not playing bad, he's going to play 30 minutes again. And like, let's say you want to do some manual adjustments yourself. If we give him 50% more minutes to bring him to 30, give him 50% more DK value, 50% more OF index, 50% more FD value. All of a sudden, he's breaking the slate.
Oh, yeah.
That's why minutes projections are so important. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I didn't think that, uncertainty of him not starting is bringing down his ownership as well. So I think there's a multitude of things.
Yeah, this is the first game, but just the more that you can have ready when we get that starting lineup at half hour before, the less that you have to do in that half hour. Because I know me, I'm always scrambling when it comes close to lock. As much time as I spend before, it just doesn't matter because we get late news that you have to adjust for if you want to play DFS.
Yeah.
Individual ownership is pointless. Lineup ownership is more important. I would agree that lineup ownership is more important, but individual ownership matters. Wembanyama, no, he got ruled out. I know I'm like 10 minutes behind on the comments, guys. Sack played big minutes last night. Yeah, the problem is that they're so battered that they just kind of have to play big minutes again. I mean, De'Aaron Fox played 45 in the overtime. It's De'Aaron Fox. He should be good. Keegan Murray's like 22 years old, played 45 minutes, should be fine. Kevin Huerter only played 31. He lost some minutes in the overtime to Keon Ellis, so the other guy should be fine. Like Trey Lyles played 40, but they're so cheap that even if you want to give them like a little bit of a dock for tired legs or whatever, I don't. But they're still going to show up as really, really good values across the board. Is Maxi Kleber picking up the start today? Man, what do you think?
I'm not too sure. I haven't been monitoring that. Did he start last game? I'm not too sure.
He did, but PJ Washington's back, so I don't think Kleber would start.
Yeah.
Let me refresh the model, see what the model. I was kind of hoping that the model would identify PJ as a decent low owned flyer, but I don't think it is. Poor value, poor OF. It's under 10% ownership though, so I still don't mind getting a few percent of PJ Washington. You mentioned you like Luke a lot.
Yeah, I do like Luca, and especially with no 1B, it's probably just going to be spending it for Luca. And now we have Zach Collins as well. So, yeah, unfortunately, probably just a lot of Luca once again.
Yeah, his ownership 25 and 28. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it got up to like 40% with the Wemby news.
Yeah.
Kyrie, I still like getting, especially if Luka's ownership goes up even more. Kyrie's a really good leverage play, good play regardless at 8K still, a little bit over 8K. Modest ownership. Klay Thompson's price is falling, but he's been so bad. He is a GPP play though. I mean, it only takes a few threes, right?
Yep.
And then did Christie only see run because of back to back, or is he the guy over Connect? Well, Connect started and played 30 minutes as well. Just looking at the rotations, they shared the court a pretty decent amount, so it's definitely not one or the other. And they both, I mean, they were on the court for more than 10 minutes together. So those are two guys we can definitely play together. Like D'Angelo only played 30 minutes. Probably has to play a little more tonight, even off the bench. But yeah, this Lakers rotation is going to be interesting. If it's anything but Max Christie starting, then we have to take another look. But I think it's safe to just assume Christie starts for Cam Reddish, and they'll keep Austin Reeves running the point.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
You love AD as a top pay up option. He put up 64 against Wemby. There's no reason he can't do that again against the Pels. I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying is probably correct, but I don't like to think of it like that. It's just, yeah, he has the ceiling. It's a worse matchup this time, and I don't know. Yeah, AD is a good play. Yeah, no reason to think he can't. Models identifying as one of the top guys, especially if this ownership between him and Luka gets a little bit further apart with more value opening up, then we'll take a closer look there. But it's actually interesting. Jason Tatum is showing up above Luka in OF index now. So
interesting.
Yeah, like I said earlier, like Tatum's ownership would probably be higher if it was against a different team, but maybe we can look at Tatum a little bit harder.
Yeah, definitely. If he's going to come in under owned as well, if that game just even stays somewhat close, Tatum's going to crush. So.
John Collins has a cakewalk tonight. Man, there's a new fire in this guy's eyes this season. Like they said, hey, can you be the man? And he said, yeah, I can. And ever since then, he's been the man. So John Collins, definitely my favorite play from Utah. And then like I mentioned earlier, I like mixing in the other guys. I think Clarkson's my second favorite play.
Yeah, I think Collins is, we mentioned safe, but I think he's probably the safest the way he's been playing.
Safe as in minutes played. Yep. Filipowski, super value. He's a good value. Models identifying him as the strongest value on Utah. I feel like this changed in the last few minutes since the last refresh, but 15.6. I mean, he has a top 10 value on DraftKings, and then over on FanDuel, Filipowski, I'm sure he's even better. Yeah, top 5 on. It's 4 Sacramento guys: Filipowski and Pritchard, and Dalton Connect over top of FanDuel value. So good luck to us today. 30th in a 35K field last night. I mean, dude, you can't. That's awesome. It's like I've seen questions before, like, man, my lineup finished in 30th out of 35K. What could I have done differently to win? And it's like nothing. You should not have done anything differently. You finished in the top 0.1% of the contest. I mean, the difference between 30th and first is variance. Like the difference between, honestly, like 500th place in this contest and first is probably variance. Maybe 500th is a little bit too deep. But the point is, just keep putting lineups in the top of contests and you're going to win.
Yeah, that's great.
Contemplating a rule if you have more than 2-3 Toronto to have a minimum of 1 Boston stud. I don't mind that. Yeah, that's not a bad rule to implement. I would say I try not to be that restrictive in what I'm doing, and I know you're probably not getting that many lineups with 2-3 Toronto guys anyway. But what I usually do is I kind of run it with that rule, see what the lineups look like, and just make sure that I'm comfortable with it. Maybe take it off and just get a few lineups, save a few lineups that have that rule set. Brandon Ingram. Let's take a closer look at the Pelicans. What do you think about Brandon today?
Yeah, so I was getting to a ton of Brandon earlier on the day. I still think he's fine. Once again, shooting guard isn't great tonight, so I think he makes sense at 9,100. I think he's fine. What do you think about BI here?
I like him. I like how we both just called him Brandon. His own mother doesn't even call him Brandon. BI, but 60% ownership on FanDuel is crazy, even on this slate. So I don't think I'll be that high. I mean, I mentioned it's tough to do stuff against, in the NBA, but This is too much. 30% on DK seems fine, even at the higher price point. I mean, he's going to be projected very well. The model is identifying him as a good play today, but I mean, 9,100, he's not a must play. He is a good play, though.
Yeah, he's a definitely solid play for sure.
And then from the secondary guys, I mean, Brandon Boston, I mentioned yesterday he was max price. He's even a little bit higher price today, but on a 4-game slate, he's getting the minutes, so I don't think we want to full fade him. I am getting a few percent of him. Actually, might even be over the 8% on DK, but not. I won't be over the 25 on FanDuel. Brandon Boston?
Man, I want to get there. I haven't got there the past few slates, and he's been crushing. I think he's still fine. I'd almost rather just we'll talk about Jamal Cain, but I'd almost rather just spend down for him or spend up for Ingram. But yeah.
Yeah, well, Trey Murphy was easily my favorite play from this team before he got ruled out. He's not playing today, so that's why Jamal Cain is entering our lives. But 3,300, 3,600. I mean, we have enough cheap value today that we don't have to play him. But he's projected for 21 minutes. Maybe he has a potential for more. We've seen him do it before when he was on the Heat last year. He had a few games at min price where he was in the winning lineup. So, I mean, it's probably just who's playing well. If he's playing well, he'll play more minutes. If he's not, then he won't.
Yeah, for me, Kane, he's still fine. I just think now with some other value, he's probably a little bit lower than what I initially liked him for, but he's still fine.
And then Jalen Knoll, his price keeps coming up, and I'm not sure why they keep raising his price versus other guys, but 4,700 on DraftKings is going to be a tough ask. He's 4K on FanDuel, a 4-game slate. I don't mind getting a few percent of him.
He's fine. Yeah, I don't really understand the price increase either, to be honest with you. But
yeah, model doesn't think he's a good play, but I want to make sure I have at least a couple in my exposures. Rather go Zach Collins than the Kings bigs. I don't blame you. Yeah, I don't think that's bad.
Yeah, let's talk about. I know we kind of briefly touched on, but with Lane and Collins, would you play them both in a lot of lineups? Or are you probably gonna be lower on Lane? What's your kind of stance there?
I don't know. I want to see what the model fully updates to for Zach Collins minutes because I don't think the 21 is right. I mean, I'd probably give him. Let's see how many he's been playing. Zach Collins, how many minutes would be a fair projection? Like 26?
Yeah, I'd say anywhere around 25. Yeah, probably.
Now, he hasn't top 20 in a game, but that's irrelevant because Wemby also hasn't missed a game. I don't think he has anyway.
Yeah,
not a game that Zach Collins played anyway, but this guy's a really good fantasy producer. This has happened before, and he breaks the slate most of the time. It's not a reason to play him, but I'm just saying. Zach Collins is going to look really strong. We just have to make decisions on center spots now because Zach Collins is center only, AD center only, Alex Len center only. Collins has power forward, thankfully, and so does Trey Lyles. So I guess we'll see how that looks in 5 minutes when we build our dummy.
Yeah.
Spurs going to lose by 30. It's possible. I mean, I don't know if that 12 points was updated for Wemby being in or not. Wemby off the model. Let's see. Zach Collins, top of value, predicted for 26. Things you love to see, brother. Yeah, it's still showing a 12-point spread.
What do we think about Stephon Castle now with Wemby? Do we think he looks better, or what's your lean with him?
He probably looks better, yeah. He's been playing with more confidence lately. Looks pretty good. So I'm interested in him at 4,900. He's probably a little bit too cheap for the minutes he's been playing.
Mm-hmm.
So he's fine. Yeah, he's probably he's projected for 17 and 20% ownership on both sides. It's probably close to appropriate right now. I mean, he's the second best value after Collins on this team on both sides.
Yeah, I like him a lot in tournaments, I think, with no Wemby.
Do they not you bet Luka's going to be out now that Wemby's out? Well, that would make the slate really fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be unfortunate.
Brandon Boston. Yeah, I didn't realize how far behind we are on this comments, but appreciate it, guys. Thanks for showing up on a Saturday. Is Champagne the move now? Yeah, Champagne is going to look better with no Wemby. Probably goes a little bit overlooked, too. Model isn't even really picking up on him as value. Champagne, I mean, his price, as long as he's under 5K, I'm pretty happy to get there.
Yeah, they're going to need as many scores as they can get tonight with no Wemby. So, yeah, fine with him in tournaments.
Collins legacy game. Len is an absolute troll. It's tough. That's the thing. It's just we have no idea if he's actually going to play the minutes. Value score came down a little bit, I think, right?
And I feel like everyone's overreacting to what he did last night and just seeing the game log. I mean, Sabonis is out tonight, so he could still play and produce. We haven't seen him produce yet. So
All over Christie. Yeah, we like him. Powell? Who's Powell? Filipowski?
I don't know.
Kleber ain't starting. Nope. Fire up Pritchard and Christie. Yeah, we're pretty into both of those guys. Are we worried about Mavericks blowing out the Spurs, about playing Luka if he doesn't get full run? It's a 12-point spread. I'm not worried about it.
No, I'm not really too worried.
It's like we can't fade Luka on a 4-game slate because we're worried that he blows out the other team. If they do, he probably still gets there. And because of how the slate is playing out now, the raw points are very important. So Luka doesn't have to have that ceiling game in order to be in the winner.
Yeah, if you get like 60 fantasy points from Luka, even on a blowout, that could easily be enough.
Tatum or Barrett. I mean, Tatum is second in the model after De'Aaron Fox now, even above Luka. So the model's identifying Jason Tatum as a really strong play. And then RJ Barrett still looks okay. But one thing I will note, there's no one more expensive under him on the model. So he's kind of the model's lower ranked pay up option, I guess. But it's still solid OF index. And at the ownership, I'll take shots. But Tatum is probably the better play.
Yeah, Tatum, the much, overall better play, but I don't hate Barrett in tournaments.
I might have missed this piece of news. Sorry, guys. Trey Jones is back tonight. So we have him projected for 17 minutes. So that will cut into Stephon Castle. It's just a matter of... It's kind of weird because we still have Stephon projected for 31, even giving Trey Jones a 17, and Chris Paul still has 28. So this got to be... It probably takes a little bit away from Castle, but his price is probably still a little bit too cheap, even with Trey Jones back.
Yeah, and I think he's kind of implemented that spot in the starting lineup now. How he's been playing.
This is a good rule to implement. Yeah, max one of Chris Paul, Stephon Castle, or Trey Jones, even though a couple of them are going to share the court with Stephon Castle for a bit. Definitely max one of Trey Jones and Chris Paul. They're direct backups.
Yeah, for sure.
Luka's in. Nice.
Thanks.
Let's just see. Raptors, regular starters that we expected. Najee's in. Luka's in. Okay, and we just got that Trey Jones available too. Derek Lively. It's tough to navigate these Dallas centers. It kind of feels like flipping a coin, but do you have a lean on Lively or Gafford today?
Yeah, well, first of all, Lively was in foul trouble all game last game. So if you're looking at his game log, just try not to look at it. But I do lean Lively here, assuming he starts once again. But I think you mentioned it's kind of a coin flip. I always tend to lean whoever starts.
Yeah, and if you don't want to make the decision for yourself, the model is giving the slight edge to Derek Lively at $100 cheaper on DraftKings, and then a pretty big edge over on FanDuel at $1,000 cheaper than Gafford.
Yeah.
Would we play Tatum and Brown in the same lineup? So if I'm hand building, I understand it's like unintuitive to do that, but I will. I'm not setting a rule that I only want one of them in the same lineup. But the thing is, if you're doing that, then kind of what the douche was talking about earlier, you probably definitely want to play like one of RJ Barrett or Jakob Poeltl or even both.
Yeah, just about to mention that. Try to run him back with one of those guys.
What kind of minutes do we think PJ Washington is out there? It's hard to know. I'm typically on the train of if they're good to go, they're good to go. We haven't projected for 28. I don't see a reason to project him otherwise.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right.
Yeah, maybe that's the floor. He has a potential for more. Hauser last man in. Yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Best shooting guard to put on fantasy tonight. Let's take a look at DK shooting guards.
It's so difficult, man. Shooting guard is not good tonight. I don't know why it's so bad, but it just is.
The pay-up options, BI, Jaylen Brown, Kyrie Irving, kind of mid-range-ish options, Austin Reeves, who's still a fine GPP play at this, it might be sticker shock, but he's been pretty great. And then after that, it's like you're paying down for Kevin Huerter, Peyton Pritchard, Sexton, Keon Ellis, Grady Dick, Brandon Boston, Stephon Castle. So these guys, there's a lot of playable guys here. I don't know that we feel really strongly about any of them because they all have something with them. Maybe we feel good about Huerter just because the minutes are there.
Yeah, he's fine as well. It's I lean Pritchard if I was picking one, but it's very difficult to there's a bunch of plays.
Do we think Fox will have a dub though because he dropped 60? SGA sunk you last night. Let's not talk about SGA last night. They couldn't even. It's like the NBA Cup. Why couldn't the Thunder coach just try to run the score up in the last 4 minutes? It's not NBA Cup today. We'll worry about that next time. But I mean, I don't see a good reason to fade Fox. You'd only be doing it because you're hoping, I don't know, he goes to the locker room or that he just really has a bad game, I guess. And if you're fading him, you definitely want to get to other Sacramento players.
Oh, for sure.
Washington's on a minutes restriction. Did he give a like a firm number?
Let me look it up.
Yeah, let me see if I can find this real quick. We'll build a dummy and get out of here. Jayhawk's going to be running it back to back today. In the Discord, if you want instructions to join that, it's in the Discord below. Just another half hour of him talking, and it's a little more intimate experience if you want to ask more questions. He won't play the full 36 minutes until he gets more games under his belt. Okay, so I still feel comfortable with the 28 we have him projected for.
Yeah, definitely found 28 there.
And unlikely to play heavy minutes. Yeah, it's like coaches are such liars, dude. So maybe he can play a little bit more if the game's close. It's Fox or Hauser or Boston Jr. and Werder. Is that Fox and Werder? Fox and Hauser? I mean, my choice is going to be whichever one has Fox.
Yeah, I think it's Fox and Hauser, Boston. Yeah, it's definitely Fox and Hauser.
All right, Jayhawk. It's I've been dreading this, but let's attempt to build a dummy, dude.
Let's do it, dude.
So I think first player in, it's obviously De'Aaron Fox.
Oh, for sure.
And for me, second player in is actually Trey Lyles.
Okay, yeah, I like that a lot.
Just, I don't know, more minute security than Len. We'll see if Len is necessary for this build, but
Zach Collins got to be 3.
Oh, Zach Collins is absolutely the center. Good call. Zach Collins at 4,900. And is Keegan Murray small forward eligible? Love Keegan Murray tonight.
Power forward, I think.
All right, so what do you think about trying this with 3 kings to start, and we'll see if we need the extra value?
Yeah, love that core right there.
I think we got to put in Peyton Pritchard, even if the model's identifying him as a possible fade candidate.
Yeah, love Pritchard.
Leaves us 7,100 for 2 positions. I mean, do we want to try to fit in Luka?
Yeah, we can try.
5K shooting guard. We just looked at all the beautiful shooting guards on the slate. Who's around 5K? Kevin Werder.
Werder.
So the dummy is going to have 4 kings in it. Sick.
I'm fine with that, man. They're really depleted.
I was hoping this gave us Champagne at 4,500.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, tell them connect. No one can't really move anyone around here. Let's get Werder at small forward, see if there's another shooting guard. I will say, I think Werder is definitely the play, but these guys are both decent pivots off at the same price, Klay Thompson and Keldon Johnson.
Yeah.
Keon Ellis.
I mean,
you could play Connect. It's okay to leave $300, but maybe like this is. I'm pretty sure this is the pure chalk right here, especially if you play Keon Ellis. Like this is probably a strong cash build.
Yeah, and you can also, the one thing I will say, if you're not as high on Luka as we are, you can go down to Tatum maybe at the util and then work around something like that.
That's a good idea. The model is higher on Tatum today, so let's take a look at that. It gives us 5,700.
Still nobody.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jordan Clarkson, and if maybe you can move something else around, that would have been perfect to get to Trey Murphy if we had him today. But
yeah,
either way, I mean, it's just builds are going to be so dumb tonight because the chalk is so strong. The prices are all incorrect for the players that are in and lineups. It's been really tough this past week. I mean, it's always been tough, but like you have to be perfect. Like you really have to thread the needle to win a GPP. So, just get lucky. Hope that the builder gives you the proper Kings guys. We didn't even put a Utah guy in this lineup. Like there's just so many good plays. So hopefully that means the ownership is a little more spread out, but just got to get the right combo.
Yes, sir.
Christie or McCain? In real life, give me Jerry McCain for Max Christie all day. McCain is not on today's slate. Yeah. McCain is probably the most valuable rookie in the NBA, which is insane because that wasn't the case 2 days ago. And AD. Yeah, I mean, you could plug in AD instead of Tatum here too. I mean, I'm sure with the value we have, you could finagle a way to figure out like Tatum, AD, and Fox into a lineup. Zach Collins, Trey Lyles, maybe doesn't have Keegan Murray, but a lot of flexibility tonight.
Yeah. And one thing to note, for some reason, when I've been building, a lot of my value's been going off. The studs have actually been more volatile than I've expected this year. So just mix around the studs more, play the value guys you like, and hopefully you can get the right combo.
Why in the world is Pritchard so highly projected 30 points? Because for some reason, the entire industry gave him 32 minutes today. It's not just us. He's 32 minutes everywhere that I saw. And he's predicted for 33. These minutes should not be going up. If anything, they should be adjusting down. This is just completely projecting a blowout. And now we have his proper ownership updated to 43 and 20. Yeah, that's more realistic. I will say the 20 on FanDuel is low if the 43 on DraftKings is correct, even at the higher price. So something to keep in mind. I know he only has a point guard eligibility there too. So you're kind of just locked into Fox Pritchard if you go that route, but something to think about. It's De'Aaron Fox. Answer to your question.
Oh, for sure.
So appreciate you guys. If you want more, Jayhawk will be in Discord, and we'll see you tomorrow. Jayhawk, any final words?
Good luck tonight, and let's go Kings.
Oh, shout out to you, Jordan.